Imagine walking into a courtroom where the jury and court officers have not graduated from high school. At first glance, you might think that a mock trial is being conducted, but what you are seeing is a teen court in action. Teen court is a place where youth are sentenced by their peers for minor delinquent or problem behavior. Today, the teen court will be hearing a case involving underage drinking. We're going to show you the entire case, up to the point where the jury deliberates the sentence for this case. You're going to be the jury. You will be asked to keep track of all the facts you hear and consider all of the information so you can determine a sentence that is fair, appropriate, constructive, and restorative. That means that you must decide what the respondent needs to do to repair the harm she has caused to herself, her parents, her victims, and to the community. Take notes to help with your recommendation. Remember to think about things like, who was harmed? How were they harmed? What has the respondent done to repair the harm? And what needs to be done to help repair the harm? Columbia County Teen Court is now in session.
This teen court in and for the Court of Columbia County is now in session. Everyone please turn off all cell phones and beepers.
I would like to welcome everyone to teen court. The respondent agreed to come to teen court voluntarily and has already admitted guilt. The respondent will receive constructive sanctions after the jury hears testimony. Respondent, witnesses, and jurors. Confidentiality is a serious expectation in teen court. You have the responsibility not to share personal information about this case with anyone. That means do not tell the name or any identifying characteristics of the respondent to your family, your best friend, your teacher, or anyone else. You have a serious responsibility and obligation to keep these proceedings confidential. Anyone who breaks confidentiality could be charged with contempt of court. Will the clerk of courts please call the case and swear in all parties?
Columbia County Teen Court is now in session. Chris Smith, please stand. Please raise your right hand. Do you agree to abide by the decision of this court? Answer with I do.
I do.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you are about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Please be seated. Will the jurors please stand and raise their right hands? Do you solemnly swear or affirm that you will objectively weigh the issues in this case and determine fair, constructive sanctions according to the testimony and guidelines of this teen court?
I do.
I do. Please be seated. Would the parent in this case please stand and raise their right hand? Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you are about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Please be seated.
Does anyone on the jury know this respondent? Does the respondent or her parents know any of the jurors?
No.
Will the clerk of courts please read the statement of undisputed facts out loud for the court?
Chris Smith, age 17, is a student at Rio High School. She has been charged with underage drinking and was referred to the teen court by the Columbia County Sheriff's Department. Chris was drinking alcohol with a group of friends after a volleyball game. Chris tried to drive away, and a friend, Jim Jones, attempted to stop Chris from leaving. In the process, the car ran over Jim's foot. There was no injury to the foot. A portable breath test showed that Chris had a reading of .05.
Before we begin questioning, the clerk of courts will explain the teen court definition of harm.
Whenever there is an illegal act, there is harm that is caused as a result of that illegal act. The most obvious harm is damage to someone's property or injury to a person. Sometimes the harm is to the school, the parents, the community, or the youth. A community can be harmed when it has to spend money on police calls, court costs, and when community members fear that crime will happen to them. Parents can be harmed when they lose trust in their children, miss work, or when family life is disrupted. Schools can be harmed when principals and teachers have to take time to deal with discipline problems. Other students are harmed when they are exposed to unlawful acts or their class is disrupted. In teen court, we address all types of harm that may have questions regarding the harm that has been caused as a result of your illegal or disciplinary act. Do you understand what we mean when we say harm?
Yes.
Jury will now question the respondent. Chris, please remember that you are under oath.
So Chris, what do you like to do for fun?
Hang out with my friends, play sports, that kind of stuff.
Are you in any extracurricular activities?
I play varsity volleyball, soccer, and basketball.
Do you like school? What kind of grades do you get?
School's okay. I get mostly B's and some A's.
Can you tell us about your family?
This is my mom, Liz. My dad, Jeff, is at work right now. I have a little brother in the 3rd grade.
Okay, Chris, tell us what happened after the volleyball game.
We changed after the game and went to hang out in my friend's car.
Can you tell us more of what happened after the volleyball game?
We just goofed off in the parking lot and listened to music and stuff. Then somebody pulled out some beer and most of us started drinking. We were just fooling around.
What happened after you started drinking?
Well, we were going to head over to my friend John's house, so I went over to my car and started to drive away. I guess Jim thought I shouldn't be driving, so he tried to stop me. I'd had more to drink than him. It all kind of happened really fast, and then I guess I ran over Jim's foot. My friend who hadn't been drinking drove us to the hospital so we could have Jim's foot looked at. I guess one of the nurses smelled alcohol or something, because she called the cops. Then he made me take a breathalyzer test, and he called my parents to pick me up, and that's how I ended up here.
Chris, how did you feel when your parents had to come to the hospital and take you home?
Pretty bad, I guess. Kind of embarrassed. I felt bad that I'd ruined their night.
How has this affected your relationship with your parents?
They probably don't trust me as much. They definitely ask a lot more questions about where I'm going and what I'm going to be doing and when I'm going to be home.
What about your little brother? He's in 3rd grade. How do you think this has affected him?
I guess I didn't set a very good example as a big sister. He's always trying to copy everything I do. I never really thought about it.
Besides your family members and the friends involved, who else might your actions have hurt?
Jim, probably. He was complaining about his mother, nagging him about all the work she had to miss, so pick him up from the hospital.
Along with those people, your actions also harmed the community. The nurse had to call the police and get involved instead of just doing her job. Once the sheriff's deputy was involved, harm was done to the whole community. If Jim hadn't stopped you from driving, you seriously could have injured yourself or other people.
Are there any further questions for the respondent? Jury will now question the parent. Ms. Smith, please remember that you are under oath.
So, what kind of relationship do you and your husband have with Chris?
Well, Chris has always been really willing to tell us just anything that's going on in her life. She's always really busy with sports, and we make sure, though, that we have time as a family to be together. And she likes to go hunting with her dad every year, and her dad's also been her coach for most of her life, since she was little.
Do you approve of Chris's friends, Mrs. Smith?
I do. They're at our house a lot, and after practice and things during the week, and then on the weekends, pretty much everyone hangs out at our house.
How do you feel about your daughter's drinking?
I was really disappointed. The fact that she would think it was okay to drink and drive, we've always talked to her about how dangerous that was. Her drinking at all at her age was really dangerous.
What happened on the night of the volleyball game?
Well, Chris had her volleyball game, and her dad and I went to watch. And then she was going to go over to some friend's house, so we decided to go home. A couple hours later, we got a phone call, and we had to go and pick her up at the hospital. And I just hate to think of what might have happened if she had continued to drive. It's really scary.
What type of punishment did Chris receive from you at home?
Well, we immediately took her license away, and she was not allowed to drive. Took her car keys, too, so to make sure that she wouldn't drive. And that was for a month. So that meant she had to walk to school, and she has to walk to and from practice as well. No video games, no computer, no cell phone, all of that for a month.
What do you hope to see Chris get out of teen court?
Well, I'm hoping that she will realize that she needs to be a contributing member of the community, and instead of causing harm, she needs to help out in some way. So I guess maybe if she had some community service, that might be a good thing.
Are there any further questions for the parent? The jury will now go into deliberation to discuss and decide on its sanctions and recommendations. We ask that everyone else please leave the room.
You've heard the facts about the case from the respondent and the respondent's mother. You should now have enough information to help you decide on a fair, appropriate sentence for Chris. While you are deliberating, keep the following in mind. Who was harmed and how? What has Chris done to repair the harm? What still needs to be done to make it up to the victim and the community? After you consider all of this, you can decide what an appropriate sentence should be.